Thank you so much for waiting. We would like to begin the afternoon session. As we did in the morning, I will serve as the moderator in this session as well. I am Fukizawa from the Secretariat. The title of the session is Toward Industry Academia Government Collaboration Initiative to Realize Circular Economy. We have invited experts from government agencies, private companies, local governments, and academic institutions in Japan and partner countries to introduce the initiatives of their countries and organizations toward a circular economy. Furthermore, based on their recommendations on policy issues required to promote the circular economy, initiatives by private companies and citizens, and necessary digital transformation and other technologies will be discussed. In this session, we have two speakers making presentations first, and we will have a panel discussion with 5 panelists, including one of the presenters. There will be a Q&A session after the panel discussion. So if you have any questions, please post your questions in the Zoom chat and briefly write your name and your affiliation. If you are in the audience at this venue, please write your question on a piece of paper and raise your hand. The Secretariat will collect your questions. If you don't have a piece of paper to write on, please contact us. The moderator of this session will be Mr. Arachi Ichiro, Senior Expert in Environmental Management of JICA's Global Environment Department. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for attending this session. And those attending online, thank you for coming. I am Arachi, serving as a moderator of this session. As was already introduced, the purpose of the agenda have been already discussed. In Japan and ASEAN countries, towards circular economy, efforts are updated. I want you to understand the current status, and at the same time, we have challenging issues. What efforts should be deployed by stakeholders? And these are the questions that we want to ask in this session. First, we will have two keynote speakers. In Japan and ASEAN countries, we would like to understand the current status of circular economy. So first, I'd like to invite Mr. Ko Matsuura, Section Chief of Environmental Regeneration and Material Cycles Bureau, Ministry of the Environment of Japan. So, Mr. Ko Matsuura, please take the floor. Thank you for the introduction. I'm Matsuura from Environmental Regenerative Material Cycle Bureau. So just briefly, I'd like to cover these topics, starting with the Japanese waste management system, and also I want to talk about the policy environment toward circular economy. There has been some changes recently. What you see here is the Japanese waste management system, and this is also part of our effort for circular economy. Since time is limited, I am not going into the details, but just briefly. So there are attendants from this venue and online, so from Asia and African countries. So just want to give you the brief explanation. In terms of waste management, there are different regulations depending on the country. In Japan, we have waste management law controlled by the Ministry of the Environment. But if you take a look at the Asian country, Thailand, for example, household waste, industrial waste are actually managed by different government organizations. So there are differences. Major piece of environmental policy is Basic Environment Act. It's the top green box in the middle. Based on the law, basic plan is formulated. Last May, we formulated a new basic plan. This is the cabinet decision. So that is the overall government agreement on the direction of environmental actions and measures. Now, circular economy has become a buzzword, but in Japan, we had this basic act for establishing a sound material cycle society. JICA has deployed multiple projects on this, including a concept of 3 Rs. This concept has spread to the rest of the world, thanks to JICA. Now, at the bottom of the slide, as of May last year, new law was established. This is the Advancement of Recycling Business Act. In order to promote resource recycling, new law was enacted. And at the bottom, we have specific Recycling Act. These are enforced since 20 years ago. For example, Container and Packaging Recycling Act to collect used plastic package so that we can recycle that as new materials. And there will be a presentation by Mr. Kojima to talk about recycling efforts of home appliances in Asian countries. And we also have Home Appliance Recycling Act in Japan. And also automobile recycling, which has become a hot topic in Asia. So used cars are now being recycled, and we have also another recycling act focusing on automobiles. So we have been building this recycling frames of law for some time. So this is the Waste Management Act. It's a lot of information on this slide. I just want to indicate that this act is so complicated, and that is why I prepared this slide. In terms of waste management, laws and regulations are quite different from a country to another. And we have municipal waste, that is household waste, listed on the left-hand side. It's the municipal mayors that will give permission to recycling players for processing. We have about 1,700 basic municipalities, cities, and towns, and each one of the municipal government will be responsible for this. Now, with regard to industrial waste, on the other hand, it's the prefectural governor that issues permission to recycling business. The Ministry of the Environment, the national government, covers the scope of what is indicated by blue, formulating basic policy, helping technical development, major activities done by the national government, the Ministry of the Environment. So one thing I'd like to highlight here is the basic policy formulated mainly by the Ministry of the Environment. So we do have the basic policy of the waste management. In June last year, we had a cabinet decision made on this. Additional points newly added is by 2050, of course, we declare to achieve carbon neutrality. For this pledge, we need to facilitate decarbonization, and we have to invigorate economies of local communities. So we have to also promote resource recycling in local areas. And we want to expand the scope and make sure this business is viable. And we also have separate recycling law. We are focusing on automobiles here. This is an example that proved very effective. Back in the days, we saw some of the used cars dumped illegally, but we created this law about 20 years ago. And before and after this law, we were able to reduce 90% of the illegal dumping of used automobiles. In other Asian countries, I understand there's been a lot of discussion on recycling automobiles. But what is interesting about this is that we have purchasers of new cars, and they will pay in advance for recycling. When the car is no longer used, this payment in deposit will be utilized for recycling, which is a unique system and again proved to be successful. We have airbag and freon gas, F-gas, that affect climate change. We are collecting those as well and apply proper processing. And ASR automobile shredder residue that include iron and that can be used as useful resource. So it is important to collect and process properly so that we will be able to continue to use it as a new material and make sure that can be traded in the market. Recycling of ASR, its ratio is over 95% in Japan. So we have very efficient recycling rate of ASR. And as I said, illegal dumping has been tackled with. This law was very effective. It's about 20 years ago when this law was enacted. And since then, we were able to reduce the illegal dumping of automobiles by 98%. Now, this slide shows the graph of illegal dumping before and after the law. It's obvious how much the law impacted on this illegal dumping. On the left-hand side, we have ASR recycling rates. Current ratio is 95%. And this level has been maintained for some time, so we need to upgrade our recycling efforts in order to raise this ratio further. This is another example of Home Appliance Recycling Act. This too is a very successful law. E-waste management laws are now being formulated in other Asian countries, so I thought our Recycling Act here could be good reference. And what is interesting about this act is that users, after the use of home appliances, they will pay for the recycling fees. Intermediaries like retailers and recycling business providers need to be responsible. And we have very high recycling rates. For example, air conditioners, 93% is the recycling ratio for air conditioners. With regard to washing machines and with dryers, 92% is the ratio. So as you can see, recycling rate is quite high for home appliances. In Asia and African countries, they may still have difficulties in collecting the used home appliances from households and bring those to recycling processors. I think that whole system must be created to ensure the success. Next, I want to talk about the trend of circular economy. As you can see here on this slide, since July last year, we now have this Ministerial Council on Circular Economy. This is chaired by Chief Cabinet Secretary. The vice chairs are the Minister of the Environment and the Minister of Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry. I would like to emphasize here that high-level government officials are participating in this council, meaning that they are focusing on circular economy. Circular economy is a major part of national strategy. That is a major decision made, and we have a policy package. Each relevant ministers are asked to come up with policies to contribute to circular economy, and there will be budget allocated for each minister's efforts. This policy package was adopted in December last year. The content is posted on the cabinet's Japanese cabinet homepage. So if you're interested, please visit the homepage. Now, this is the national plan towards circular economy, and we have a basic plan as well. The Ministry of the Environment played a central role to come up with a basic plan. Last August, we came up with this cabinet decision, which we call this the fundamental plan for establishing a circular economy. The government-wide decision was made to come up with this cabinet decision. Although I'm repeating myself, in order to promote circular economy, we need more than waste management. We have to have countermeasures on climate change, and we have to contribute to biodiversity. Of course, these are the themes that are discussed in international fora, and we actually position these important topics in the national plan. And we also need to invigorate the economy of municipalities. We have very small and medium-sized companies distributed widely in local municipal areas. So we want to provide assistance to them so that we can invigorate the local economy. So that is also another target. And obviously, international cooperation is our focal area. At the bottom of this slide, you see a list of prioritized areas. So these are the special focal areas, including plastic and biomass, food waste. These are our prioritized areas of our efforts. Sorry, I'm running short of my time. I'll be very quick on this. This shows the measures to invigorate regional economies. This is an example of Osaki town. Recycling rate is over 83% in this Osaki town in Kagoshima Prefecture. If you Google search Osaki town, you would come up with what they have done to achieve this high rate. ASEAN is a very important area for our international cooperation. There will be a talk by Mr. Kojima on this. We are trying to cooperate so that there will be resource circulation. In 2023, we commemorate the 50th anniversary with our relations with ASEAN, and that is why we came up with this package. This is the high-level efforts up to the Prime Minister's level. Climate change, pollution, biodiversity are major topics where we are going to cooperate with ASEAN. It's the framework we agreed upon. After this session, there will be another session focusing on Africa. So let me just use this slide. The Ministry of Japan and JICA and Yokohama City, UNEP, and UN Habitat, which is the Secretariat working on African Clean Cities Platform, ACCP in short. As of today, 47 African countries and 196 cities from Africa are participating. It's a large-scale partnership. In August 2025, there will be a major African conference, TICAD, in Yokohama. Before that, ACCP General Assembly was scheduled to be held. We plan to adopt declaration, which we are currently drafting. To share knowledge, we want to turn this experience into multiple projects. So I don't have much time. I just want to briefly go through this. These are new laws enacted in Japan, promulgated in May last year. Major purpose here is resource circulation. It is important to have cooperation from business sector. In order to enhance cooperation from the private sector, what can we do? One thing is based on this law, focusing on manufacturing and recycling companies, which can connect them together. So what we want to accelerate is the relation building between the manufacturers and recycle companies. So it is important to be able to have sufficient supply of recycled products and materials in terms of quality and quantity. We can supply that to companies who will be able to circulate the resource usage. And that is why we enacted this act. There is a special example. This is waste management law. It's a very strict restraining law. For example, if there is industrial waste, if you want to process that as your business, we have 47 different prefectures. You have to get permission from each individual prefecture to be able to process industrial waste. But this is a new law, very advanced recycling technology. When it's utilized under the permission of the Ministry of the Environment, as far as you get that permission, you will be able to deploy your recycling business throughout the country without receiving permission from each prefecture. So if you're interested, please take a look at this homepage. So I had to rush through my presentation, but these are some of the waste and circular economy policy discussion taking place in Japan. Thank you for listening.
Mr. Matsuda, thank you very much. Ministerial decision was being made, and that's how much the progress has been made in Japan. So now, moving on to Asia's cases. Institute of Developing Economies, Japan External Trade Organization, Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia, Chief Senior Researcher, and Senior Research Fellow on Environmental Issues, Mr. Kojima. Yes, hello. Thank you for having me. Towards circular economy in Asia, current status and challenges will be my title. So circular economy, there has been a lot of initiatives, and in Japan we use this word 3R, reduce, reuse, recycle, but there are other R's as well. So various initiatives are well underway. And I'll skip some pages. In developing countries, so-called waste pickers exist. So they collect recyclable waste, and it is an income for them. This is from Jakarta, and there is a day called Car Free Day, when there will not be any vehicles, and during the daytime, waste pickers will be picking up recyclables such as PET bottles. PET bottles are valuable, so they are collected on the street and from waste bins. Whereas here, if you go to the landfill, we don't see much PET bottles. There are different plastics, so some waste pickers would not be picking specific plastics if they are useless. So they look for valuable plastics. So they would be collecting waste to make their ends meet. And regarding plastics, like I said, there are different types of plastic, and what's the demand of recyclability, and then that will determine the price. So waste pickers would be looking for more valuable plastics. And depending on how many hours he or she can dedicate, they would be looking for high value plastics. And in Thailand, there is a junk shop operated like a chain store, and it's called One Penny. And the buying price are indicated on their website, and not only in Thai, but they have offices in Laos and other places, including US. And maybe 3 times or 4 times, they would be changing their price per week, and they announce these prices for waste plastics. And waste pickers oftentimes has to buy at a low price, but this Wampani, this junk shop, would be attracting waste pickers by indicating their buying price beforehand. So the issue is when recycling, there is a possibility that there'll be a environmental damage or harm. And you can see on the right-hand side, this integrated circuit is being extracted from gold, and on the left-hand side, the coated cables are being burned, incinerated to extract materials such as copper. So without preventing pollution, these incineration and burning of the materials are taking place in Southeast Asian countries. And when it comes to plastics, storage or places where plastic could be stored. So they're just left on the ground, and they can be impacted by rain or weather conditions, but there should be a storage place where these plastics are collected in one place. And now I'll skip these pages, but in ASEAN as well, there are different initiatives underway. And EPR, Extended Producers Responsibility in ASEAN countries, we are starting to see some application. Some countries are having a hard time to kick this off, but gradually, although more and more recyclable materials are being collected. So in Southeast Asia, so design for recycling is an important approach that Japan is taking. This is the message that we communicate to SCA countries. So back in 2000s, colored PET bottles or plastic bottles started to disappear in Japan, but we still do see some are tinted with blue or green colors. And these colored PET bottles have less demand, meaning that their buying price is low. It's difficult to recycle, but the transparent PET bottles could be turned into textiles, and of course you can add color to them. Otherwise, the prices do come down. Therefore, basically, we are seeing more and more transparent plastics. And refill shops, we're starting to see more and more. And based on our experience, this is another message that I would like to deliver to people from Asia. There is so-called Ecotown in Japan. So this is gathering recycling businesses to industrial parks. And even in Tokyo or Kitakyushu, we do have these so-called eco-town. I believe this approach is important as well. And styrofoam, yes, it is indeed being recycled in Japan, but there is a report from UNEP that styrofoams cannot be recycled. So they're light and bulky. So in order to recycle, the cost to transport them is costly. So this is a downside. So in the fisheries industry, there is a compressing technology or compressor, or even at department stores. In Japan, they have compressors to compress a styrofoam to transport them to a location where they could be recycled. So perhaps this is one idea that could be used. And also floats used in ocean for fishing boats. Right. With this shape, styrofoam will start to gradually decompose. So rather, it is important to design the floats so that it will not be decomposed and turn into microplastics. Another one is, although recycled, yes, after recycling, we do have industrial standard so that recycled materials and products meet the requirements of industrial standards, including safety. This because another important aspect is we do recycling. Even in Malaysia, they are starting to come up with their own standard. So gradually, as we see penetration of the standard, recycled products will have and will find their ways of use. And also PVC, outer layer, inner layer would be virgin PVCs, but high plastics are being used in between, meaning that so that, let's say, water, liquid, will not touch the high plastics inside. So that is how this is designed, and various products are being developed. And another point, green public procurement. This becomes more important. So demand needs to be created, and the government should take the initiative in generating such demand. So that will be all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kojima. So Mr. Kojima is very much expert for the ASEAN recycling and reusable products. We would like to listen to him more. However, there's going to be other presentation waiting, and from here on, we would like to go on with the panel discussion. So we would like to call upon the two presenters who have presented already to stay on the stage, and the panel discussions. Adding to Mr. Kojima, we are to call upon So, Dr. Sujitra Basandurongji, a senior researcher of ethics, and Dr. Lai Van Man, Director of Department of Economics of Natural Resources and Environment, ISO PONRE, and Mr. Crispian Lau, Founding President, Parmas Corporation, and Mr. Kitazume Kazutaka, Executive Officer, and Bipro Holdings. They will be the discussants, and they will be introducing the local conditions of the Thai and other part of the world, and would go on with the discussions. And online participants, are you able to hear us? Thank you very much for the confirmation, and please keep your videos on so we can see your faces. So, Sawadi Khan. So, Sawadi Club, Xin Chao, Magandang Habong. Thank you very much for following. And first of all, from each of the panelists, we would like you to share the circular economy at your local place. And we're very sorry, but we only have 5 minutes for you to present. So starting from Dr. Sujitra Basandurongji, please start your presentation.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I would like to show my PowerPoint presentation here. Hope you can hear my voice. And because we have only 5 minutes, so I have to go through quickly. So
sorry, I can hear your voice very clearly. Thank you.
Okay. So my name is Chitra Vathana Damrongdi from Sustainable Environment Research Institute of SERI from Chulalongkorn University. And a brief about myself, my work. So I have been working on the waste management research and policy for over 10 years and touch upon every many levels. And today I will focus on the national level regarding the laws that I advocate. So back to the background of the municipal solid waste situation in Thailand. So we have about 27 million tons, and the trend is increasing after COVID-19 period. And as you see in the right-hand side, we still facing 95% of disposal sites still improperly managed. Or we can see like open dumps like we found in many countries in the south. And we have the incident of the fire at the open dump site, the recent incident in Samut Prakan province just next to Bangkok just 2 weeks ago, causing the smoke and worsening the air pollution in Bangkok that now we are facing the PM 2.5 test situation. And during the monsoon season, so we will face the flooding in many provinces in Thailand. Like we also face the flooding over the dump site at Ang Thong province, which contains garbage over 200,000 tons, and it affects the community nearby and the land. And why the problem is occurred because our municipal solid waste is still under the local administrative organization duty. But what the problem is that most of them, we have almost 8,000 local governments. Most of them are still medium and small size. So the lack of manpower and budget and also political will to reduce waste at source. And according to the laws, it just mentioned that it's the duty of local government to collect and dispose. So you see that the law written is like still reflecting the linear economy concept. Well, now we are talking about circular economy, but the existing laws in Thailand hasn't changed the concept or the mindset. So we think that we need to really change the legal framework. Although the government realized of this problem, but they still focusing on promoting waste to energy. still have some dilemma or conflict with the circular economy. And if we see the the solid waste under the hand of local government, they are facing many types of waste stream, like you see in the box above. Compared to developed countries, many countries they utilize the concept of EPR to tackle some priority products, but we still don't have the EPR laws in Thailand. So if we compare to developed countries, including Japan, you are trying to adding more new regulation to move toward to the circular economy, and you already have some policy instrument to achieve that one. But in Thailand, we don't have any policy instrument written in the laws. We just have the promoting waste recycling at most under the hand of local government. But while we are talking about circular economy, it popped up and it's furtherly promoted by the Ministry of Higher Education. You can notice that it is not an initiative from Ministry of Interior who take care of the local government. So there's some gaps in terms of working across the ministry. Even Monterey, or Ministry of National Resource and Environment, they don't stand out first for the circular economy policy. Is from Ministry of Higher Education to promote circular economy policy under the BCG model, and it has been adopted as a national agenda during the previous government by the Prayut Chan-o-cha Prime Minister. And we also, during that time, we have quite clear picture on how to move forward with the circular economy strategy. We have the action plan, try to solve the solid waste and create the value added to create new business on the circular economy business. And we also have set the target industry to promote the circular economy, like plastic waste management, construction, agriculture, and food, including other industry like solar panel, textile, battery, and EV industry as well. Right now, the Thai government really promoted the EV manufacturing, but from what I observed, that there's lack of the circular economy action plan for each target industry. Mostly they rely on the BOI investment incentive promotion only to promote the investors on these target industries. So this is the circular economy program promoted by NXPO, still under the Ministry of Higher Education. On the other hand, Ministry of National Resource and Environment, they also realized after we have the BCG model policy, so they embedded some circular economy work program in their action plan. But their movement is quite slow, like they just draft the act on the sustainable management of packaging recently. That I also work on this one as well. So for myself as a policy researcher, we advocate for the Circular Economy Promotion Act, like a basic law that enabling the implementing laws that can contain some EPR and other policy instrument in one act. So this will shorten the pathway toward the circular economy because Thailand is quite really difficult to issue each act. It's a specific act. So compared to Japanese legal structure that we have seen before, you have maybe now more than 10 laws related to waste management and circular economy, but we have none. And to advocate for CE Promotion Act, maybe we need to have some kind of overall framework law like this, and some specific dedicated agency to advocate for the CE promotion. But sadly, when we change the government, the current government, they don't have priority on the pushing the circular economy. They still have to advocate or to push forward for the Clean Air Act and the Climate Change Act first. So it's still circular economy policy is still low priority for Thailand right now. But I still advocate for this one and hope that Japan and our ASEAN country will work together to advocate for the circular economy into action in Thailand. Thank you very much.
杉虎様ありがとうございます。タイの政
Thank you
策
very much, Ms. Sweetara. So that was about the initiative at Thailand, and she has been mentioning about the challenge there. And so it was full of good content, and thank you very much for your cooperation within this very short time. And now we call upon Dr. Lai from Vietnam. So thank you, Doctor. Could you please start?
Thank you, Dr. Adachi, and thank you, JICA, for inviting me to join today's webinar. It is useful for us to share the information in Vietnam about the circular economy. Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank the support from the JICA and Dr. Adachi for ISPORE. We are the research agency under the Ministry of Nature Research and Environment. In this period, we support for Ministry of Nature Research and Environmental and Vietnam government to propose the relevant policy on the circular economy in the Vietnam. So today's presentation, I will quick introduce about the Vietnam policy framework on the circular economy. As you know, since 2020, Vietnam started to develop the new socio-economic development strategy in the period of from now to 2030. And in this progress, we also revise the law on the environmental protection. So as a requirement from the government, ISPONRE also have a responsibility to study and propose a new policy, new the economic model for the Vietnam in the future. Circular economy has been integrated into the policy and regulation in Vietnam since 2020. Now there are many direction policy, including the national strategy, the plan and planning, also mentioned about the circular economy as a key economic model for the sustainable development in Vietnam. In the other aspects, the law on the environmental protection and some regulation on the socio-economic development in Vietnam also integrated the concept and the definition and the action for the circular economy in the Vietnam. And here is the main the structure of the policy framework on the circular economy in the Vietnam. We have two branches. The first branch we mentioned about the policy orientation. This area focused on the socio-economic strategy, on the socio-economic development plan, for example, green growth strategy, for example, West environmental protection strategy, and some the regional strategy, development strategy in the Vietnam. Prime Minister also issued some scheme on the circular economy in the Vietnam. We have a scheme on the agriculture technology and scientific. We have a smart scheme for the circular economy. In another branch in the United Nations framework, we also have one article. We propose one article on the circular economy in the law on the environmental protection, including the article. The first mentioned about the definition of the circular economy. The second article mentioned about the responsibility of the relevant ministry, the local authority to integrate the circular economy into their planning, into their strategy and plan, something like that. And the third article mentioned about the responsibility of business sector to apply the circularity solution and the method to achieve the target of the circular economy. And after Vietnam also have another tool in the comparison with the JICA, Japan, with the ASEAN country, with some the Europe country. We also know that Vietnam also have some some important tools to support for the circularity transition in the Vietnam, including the EPR, including the best available technology, including the waste management, green finance, and green taxonomy, something like that. And especially in the 2022, the Prime Minister also approved the Decree 08, the guidelines, the detail of the circular economy beyond the law on the environmental protection. And the last week, the government, Prime Minister also approved the National Action Plan on the circular economy in the Vietnam. It is the overall the framework of the policy and the legislative framework on the circular economy in the Vietnam. In my opinion, in the comparison with the international experience, I think that Vietnam try to integrate the concept and the target and solution to promote the circular economy in the Vietnam. Here is some the detailed regulation on the law on the environmental protection in the Vietnam that I have mentioned. And here is some the regulation about the guiding the details law on the environmental protection in the Vietnam, including criteria for the circular economy, how to identify the circularity model. We also mentioned about the Decree 08. We also mentioned about the responsibility of the different ministries and the local authority on implementing the circular economy. We also mentioned about the responsibility of the government to develop the national action plan on the circular economy. And finally, about the regulation and mechanism to encourage the implementation of circular economy in the Vietnam. Yeah, and finally is a general structure of the national action plan on the circular economy that Prime Minister has approved last week for the Vietnam. The period we set up for the national action plan in Vietnam to 2030, it means that we will implement the NACCE in Vietnam in 10 years. And we will focus on the setup the sustainable production and consumption, improve the resource efficiency and reduce the waste, something like that. And we also choose some prioritized sector. We focus on the circular economy in the Vietnam, including the agriculture, including the food, the manufacturing, industry, energy, construction and transportation, the city and the industrial zone, something like that. And we propose 5 key actions for the Vietnam. We target for the achieving the national action plan in Vietnam. The first focus on the increase the awareness, knowledge and skill for the different stakeholders in Vietnam to apply the circular economy. The second focus on achieving the institution policy and raising the effectiveness of the policy and regulation in the Vietnam. For example, the EPR policy, the green finance policy, and the waste management policy to create the value, the foundation for the apply the circular economy in Vietnam. The third, we focus on the support for application of circular economy in the production, in the business, and in the consumption area. So, for example, support for eco-design, support for upload with the financial resources for the company, support for the green procurement, support for the green standard, something like that also required in the NACCE in the Vietnam. And the fourth, we focus on the waste management towards CE. It is very important. We waiting the project from the JICA for this action in the Vietnam. And the final, we focus on the collaboration, monitoring, and evaluation. So here is some the specific, some overall the framework of the National Action Plan on the Circular Economy in Vietnam to 2030. So we expect that JICA, Japan, and other countries can cooperate, and Vietnam also expect that Vietnam will become the the country in ASEAN to apply the CE to contribute for the ASEAN framework on the circular economy. So here is some presentation from myself, and thank you for the attention. Thank you so much.
マイン様、ありがとうございます。ご発表にあった
Thank you very much for the presentation. National Action Plan on a Circular and Economy is something that is Sponder and you led to formulate, and JICA also partially incorporated in the effort. So officially, the Prime Minister's decision, national decision, was made on this matter. Therefore, JICA is willing to continue to provide support. Now, we would like to ask Mr. Allow to report on the EPR system in the Philippines, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I'm tasked to present EPR, circular economy, and how everything would affect waste management for the Philippines. All right. The Extended Producers Responsibility Act was put into law in 2022. While it was not signed into law, it lapsed into law. And this was actually an alternative to banning regulations that were initially proposed in both houses of Congress. So instead of bans on plastic, given that there are no available alternatives, the national government, the legislative body, opted to impose an extended producer's responsibility. Now, extended producer's responsibility for the first year of implementation, at least, is only imposed on plastics packaging. Having said that, there are plans now, once the system is in place, to expand this to electronic goods, paper, and other materials to promote circularity as well. The targets that have been set by government was 20% in the first year, gradually increasing to achieve 80% in 2028 and thereafter. Rather an ambitious target, but a target that industry would need to comply with. Now, what's unique about the EPR system in the Philippines is that it requires audits, third-party audits. So what happens is that you have to have your plastic product footprint generation, recovery, and EPR program compliance audited by a third-party auditor. The audit system is similar to accounting audit systems, where you have audit companies that can perform the work, both accounting and environmental audit companies. Now, if you look at the schedule that is set forth by government, you would see that we declare our footprint, we divert it in the next year, and then we report it in year 3. So far as compliance is concerned, as of the first reporting year, we have diverted about 130 million kilograms or 130,000 tons of waste away from the environment. The government still receives submissions, and at present we already have recorded about 164,000 metric tons or 164 million kilos diverted from the environment. And here is the summary of how much or how the companies have complied. And when we talk of circular economy, we are basing our circular economy model with ISO 59000 series, and the Bureau of Philippine Standards has already adopted the circular economy principles and standards for the Philippines. The next step for us is to populate and to share this information with other stakeholders. Now, a brief introduction of our alliance. We bring together stakeholders from the supply and waste industries. We have investing partners supporting us, and these are at least 22 of the biggest brands. We develop our roadmap for packaging, which was easily translated to our zero EPR program, which is mandated by law. And we adopted actually the framework of waste, which is avoidance, reduce, and reuse under the reduction component, and recycle, recover, treatment, and residuals management as part of our recovery program. Again, the system, here are the players: the government, the obliged enterprises, the audit firms, and the waste diverters. It can be an LGU, it can be the company itself, it can be civil society, waste management companies. Now, how does the system work? The EPR program is submitted by government or the private entities, and then the private entities or the obliged enterprise would declare their footprint, have it certified, audited, and once it's audited, it can be uploaded to the portal and submitted. On the other side, the waste diverters would declare the waste diversion, have it audited, and also generate what we call credits. So selling the credits for compliance of our obliged enterprise. So far for PARMS, we have about 265 members. This is the landscape. For us, we have diverted about 58,000 tons of waste from the environment. You would see that for rigids, we are high in recycling for rigid materials. And then for flexibles, we are heavy on co-processing, cement co-processing or RDF, which is a lowest hanging fruit for us. So that ends my 5-minute presentation, and thank you very much for having me.
ラオ様ありがとうございます。フィリピンの
Thank you very much, Dr. Lau. So you mentioned about the Philippines system, and you have been having a lot of contribution from the private company, and that was a brilliant presentation. From here on, we would like to call on Mr. Kitazume for his presentation.
北爪でございます。私どもの会社というのご紹介とですね、簡単にちょっと概念的になりますけれども、発展途上国におけるサーキュラーエコノミーの構築の難しさみたいなところについてですね、お話をさせていただければと思います。これパワーポイントになりませんか?
I would like to mention about our company and about the challenges that we face in building circular infrastructures in developing countries. So my name is Kitazume, and my company EnviPro Holdings is the so-called working within the recycling areas, comprehensive recycling business. So we are handling used automobiles, home alliances, batteries, and all kinds of metal-based structures, solid non-toxic industrial waste, and we dismantle, shred, and separate and sort them. So for ferrous, we separate them: ferrous, non-ferrous metals, and precious, and then rubber selected into polymer-based materials, waste-derived fuels for the next process.
So
our predecessor started in 1950, therefore we have an experience for more than 70 years. And so we have been having an extensive experiences within the individual recycling laws in Japan, as introduced already. So we have various experience. And we, as a professional to handle resources and used resources in Asia, we would like to make a contribution. That is our motto. So this is the photograph of the Vietnam recycling market. And as Mr. Kojima already mentioned with us, the personal computers and household equipments, electricity equipments, automobiles, motorcycles, heavy machineries, all these are sold and used within the market. And once the life of these products are over, then it will be dismantled, disassembled, and then sorted out into parts and sold again. So in Japan, there's the ultra longevity of So compared to Japan, this is the country which is using the parts for a very long time. And the question is this going to be the ultimate circular economy market? So this is PIR. PIR stands for post-industrial recycle, and PCR is standing for post-consumer recycle, and the schematics. And unfortunately, the recycling part cannot be seen. It's in the black box. So the circularity cannot be seen. Health, safety, environment compliance, economic challenges are invisible, not seen. And currently, this is the social request. The EPR is coming, and governance and circular economy is pressing on the society to change the society. So what is needed for the society for the changes? So the social issues comes from emitters, recyclers, policy makers, and those have to have a common vision for solving social issues. So their common vision is very much needed in order to solve. So by and by, with each of the stakeholders cooperating, this black box could be now visible going forward. And right now, we are starting various projects in Vietnam. We are just about starting the foundation. Fortunately, we have a partner who has the same aspiration with us. We already have a POC with us and having a demonstration stage. But in reality, our partner is struggling. But even if we cannot see, there's already a traditional distribution channel, and that channel is very solid already. And we're trying to bring in something new within that robust channel. And there could be a lot of conflicts, although this is already assumed. Therefore, with a partner, we are always confirming to be on the same page and to find resolutions with us together. So challenge and opportunities. Challenges, opportunities. So we hold up hopes, and within the invisible world, if we bring in governance and then bring in the EPR to make things visible, and then if there should be a technology needed, we will bring in technology to make things happen. However, what is our role in making this happen? So it could be about PBC or it could be about Japan. And in Japan, Japan has over 20 years of EPR experience. Therefore, if this experience could be utilized, the developing nations could have a shortcut. So we can think that it took 20 years for instance, Japan to have a certain achievement, but developing nations could achieve the same thing or more within more shorter period. And there's technology that matches the current situation over the past 20 years. For instance, digital transformation and AI, the state-of-the-art technologies multiplied by the old technologies that we have been going through. We can combine them to contribute to a step-by-step approach. And we should not be bounded by the historical legacy. So we can just focus on the leap. Therefore, maybe we can provide a great leap to the developing nations. Thank you very much. That was all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kitazumi. In order to achieve circular economy, private sector, the company's involvement and proposal will be very important. So your company, MV Pro, is already engaging in such initiatives, and you have just shared your experience and your realization. And we see a lot of importance in your report. So, Mr. Kojima, after this presentation, can you summarize your view on the circular economy and the initiative taken so far? Thank you. In Southeast Asian countries, extended to producers' responsibility and circular economy initiatives are gradually expanding. However, it hasn't been penetrating at a national level, so there still are quite a lot of challenges which need to be overcome. In Japan, including the local government, various actions been taken. However, in some parts of Southeast Asia, they do not have enough capacity to follow suit. So we really need to work on that area. Also, there are certain activities that are conducted on a market base. If activities are causing some environmental pollution, that could be a problem. But I think there is a possibility that the efforts will make a good progress with relatively affordable labor cost. EU, and I understand, is introducing various measures which probably may affect the way forward on this matter. So not limited to the domestic situation, but we also need to look at the global trend to see how we could recycle the limited resources. In small-scale countries, commercializing the material recycling activities would be quite difficult, be it metal materials. You need to have a certain scale. Otherwise, it will not make economical sense. Therefore, amongst the countries, there should be a good cooperation in promoting recycling. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Kojima. You have mentioned some important terms like a local government, capacity building. Also, we need to have a market-based approach. In terms of recycling, I think wide area approach would be necessary rather than doing things single-handedly. And also leapfrog is another word we heard. Thailand, in Vietnam, in the Philippines, they have already implemented the national plan that really promote the relevant efforts. So keywords have been shared. In order to realize the circular economy, what are the initiatives that we need further? So once again, we would like to invite the discussants to comment. So with regard to the private sector efforts, can I ask Mr. Kitazume to make some points here?
So I'm not a representative of the private sector, but let me say that each country, including Japan, what we expect from the business side is all too natural. So it's about creating opportunities and to be trustworthy and also just equal. So the circular economy is not something that we should be working on because it is a good thing. If we just chant that like a mantra, it will not move. So we need to have an opportunity to try moving the society. And of course, the societal issues, it should be changing because people's consciousness may change. That should be there. For instance, as Matsuda-san mentioned, it's about the recycling law, or else maybe, as Dr. Mai mentioned, the EPR law in Vietnam. So these are the turning points, or the juncture that could be pushing ourselves to be on the move. Therefore, going forward, establishing and implementing the rules and regulations, by that, we will be starting moving and taking the good balance with the reality. We would like to focus and be very careful and about the equal competitions within the market. This is a old industry. However, within the very fundamental area, we have an informal sector and the formal player are working together like a patchwork. So that's the reality. And as introduced by myself, it's not just about circularity, but other social challenges are blurred these days. And to make a breakthrough all at once is probably a difficult thing to do. However, little by little, we would like to make a steady move in order so that by using the good incentives, make the industries very just and equal. Thank you very much. And Mr. Lau, please.
Yeah, sorry, can you quickly repeat the question, please?
すいません、ありがとうございます。今回、
Yes.
様々な各国からの
So each country has reported their country's efforts towards achieving circular economy.
一方で現場における
And
課題
but there are some issues related to circular economy, some challenges that need to be overcome by each country in realizing circular economy. That's also we understood. So how can we overcome the challenges faced by each country? Also, the government and the private sector companies, those parties, what are the matters they should pay attention in overcoming the challenges related to circular economy? So can you comment on that point? Starting,
I think, yeah, for circular economy, it is important that every stakeholder plays the role that they need to play. From the consumers to government to the private sector, we each have a role to play, and we have to play that role if we want to transition towards a circular economy. And the first approach, or I would recommend that you start with education. We have to be aligned on what circular economy is. The biggest challenge to us is that everybody would have their own interpretation of circularity. Then you have the favorable policies and incentives. Transitioning to circular economy will be expensive on the short term, and there should be enough incentives to drive design for recycling, recycled content on products, and refilling systems. No? You have to provide enough incentives, no, not just the regular incentives that is given by our investments board, just to augment that cost and to promote it. So again, stakeholder engagement, education, and implementable and correct policies.
はい、とても重要な点ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much. Now, Dr. Sujitora, from the perspective of researcher, can you also make a comment about the challenges you face and how you can overcome?
As I present, we are facing fragmentation of the ministries concerning ministry. So even though we have the CE strategy, vision, but we right now at the current government, we lack of interministerial working group to work together among the government agencies, private sector, and academia. So for my think, I think that we should advocate for at least some platform that multi-stakeholder can come and talk together and move forward with the circular economy strategy that we have set upon. This is, I think, the priority that we should advocate for. And in the past, we like Ministry of Higher Education, they have support a lot for the R&D for and promote the CE entrepreneur. But I think without the legal framework to really promote, we lack of like kind of like mobilization of the finance to really support or enabling the CE market or cultivate the CE consumer. So with only the producer is not enough to move forward. So we need to really create a market and some strong and consistent and active advanced investment on this issue. So I think it's quite a big task and it's very challenging, but we need to really work together and the urgent that policymakers see the importance of the circular economy and link it with the decarbonization or climate change mitigation is something that we need to work together on this issue. Thank you.
ありがとうございます。この together って言葉はとても重要な言葉
Thank you
と。
very much. I think you mentioned a very important word of together. If we have to do it together, thank you very much, Dr. Sujitora.
So now from Vietnam, Dr. Mein, could you speak about your government's policy about the challenges of the circular economy, please?
Yeah, thank you. In the progress, we study about we study and propose regulation and policy on the circular economy. We also identified that there are many challenges that Vietnam government and the business sector in the Vietnam facing with the circularity transition in the next period. For example, we also facing with the challenge about the education, knowledge, and experience on the circular economy. How to make for the everybody and everyone how the economic sector in the economy understand the circular economy. How to make for the policy maker for the business sector. They rethink about the circularity solution when they design the development planning, when they design any policy, regulation, and design any the business model or the product is very important for us. The second, we also facing the challenge about the policy, the fragmentation of policy of financial resources for the lack of the technology also is a challenge for us. How to identify the secondary material in the market, how to support, how to incentive for the circularity business model in the not easy to identify. How to reduce the risk from the circularity. Sometimes we can understand that the circularity also brings the benefit for the economy, the benefit for the environment. But circularity, if we lack the technology, we lack of the knowledge, we also facing with some issue of the environment. For example, now we talk about the greenwashing. How to deal with the greenwashing in the process we implement the circularity. It's very important. So finally, it's a linkage between the economic sector, between the government and the business sector. Linkage between the different ministry also very important. Usually, we also facing with the different understanding of the circularity. Some ministry understand circularity transition different, so it is challenging. And finally, at the global level and ASEAN level, we also facing with the different about the culture, different about the institution, different about the market regulation. For example, we lack of standard, international standard for the recycled product, for recycled material, something like that. How to make for the value and the product of circularity from the circularity model is transfer from the quickly different country is not easy. Wait from the Vietnam to another country, from another country for Vietnam. So it is still facing with the challenge at the global international level. The market regulation, for example, Basel, the convention also still need to rethink about how to support for circularity transition. And another aspect is the political global political now also facing with the problem of the financial problem about the market, so something like that. So I can share some challenges from my knowledge I can understand in Vietnam. So I expect that step by step we will cooperate to reduce the challenges for ASEAN, for the Vietnam, and for another country. Thank you.
マイン様ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much,
次はじゃ
Dr.
あ合わ
Main.
せて今度はディファランス、違いといったさらに重要な言葉もいただいたかと思います。
So you mentioned about the difference and also together. So Mr. Kojima, can you follow those comments from the discussant? I think it was very good that the discussants covered diverse topics. One of the things that we could not discuss this time was that, the trading of the recycled items, recyclable materials, was not mentioned. So, to what extent the material needs to be processed to achieve the quality which is fit for exporting? Maybe you can't really export the garbage or waste. You have to sort of clean it up so that it could be exported. So the trading of that recycled materials is something we didn't discuss. So in Cambodia, where electricity cost is relatively high, plastic recycle is very difficult to implement. So the evolving trading, it would be establishing trading rules would be quite important in achieving the circular economy. Another thing is that with regard to the industrial standards in the region of Asia, in a harmonized manner, it'd be nice to develop industrial standards which is applicable for recycling and circularity. And also the greenwashing must be avoided as we promote recycling. So Asian region as a whole need to join hand in pursuing that goal.
Thank you. It is already 3 o'clock. However, we started late. Therefore, I would like to make a comment. So that was a very valuable feedback and presentation from the participants and the discussants. Therefore, regarding circular economy, you have been making many comments, statements, including challenges that you face in your regions, your state. So I think, last of all, may I ask a word from you, everybody, of what action is needed at your country? Within a word, please. So let's start from Kojima-san, please. Maybe start from Ms. Tsujitora. Thank you.
I think see in action, it is time for Thailand to put into action. Thank you.
ありがとうございます。ではベトナムのマイン様よろしくお願いいたします。
Vietnam, Dr. Lai, please.
Yes, in Vietnam, the most important issue now I would like to propose the collaboration between the Vietnam and developed countries, JICA and Japan and Vietnam to promote to bring from the policy, from the legislative framework into practice. Vietnam set up enough of the policy and regulation on circular economy, but how to bring from the scientific to the policy, from the policy to the practice is very important in my country now. So the practice model in Vietnam is very important.
ありがとうございます。ではフィリピンのラオ様お願いいたします。
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, next steps, no? There are so much things to do with so little time, but I guess the quicker, more importantly, transitioning to circular economy, I couldn't highlight harmonization and synchronization enough. We need everyone to be on board and supporting this, and you can only do it through promotion and education. We already have a law on extended producers responsibility. We already have other policies that are already in place, roadmaps that have been written that are in the shelf. We need to take all of that and put action points and try to establish or work on low-hanging fruits for us to achieve maybe not a perfect circle, a circle with feedback loops, but then transitioning towards full circularity of the future. We need to integrate our informal system into a recognized system so that we can properly record. There's a lot of work to do, but I would always look at it at small steps, big ambitions. Thank you.
ありがとうございます。じゃあ北爪様よろしくお願いいたします。
はい。先ほどのマインさんのお話のですね、into practice
Thank you. Following Dr. Lai, he has been mentioning about bring it into practice, and I have been empathizing him. So as a business side, we have to make everything concrete. And listening to the discussants and the presenters, I really felt that all nations, all parties are now going on with a positive side. Therefore, the private sectors must answer to the request. And there's many challenges faced. However, we should be going on with a feasibility study. And then now we're coming to a juncture to evaluate and put it into action. So right now, we have some restrictions. Therefore, our company is only working on a limited area of feasibility study. However, our ambitions are high, and we would like to network with each other. And for the whole industry, I would like all other stakeholders, the business coordinators or business partners come into the market even more. And by that, we would like to start networking and start working together. So Kojima-san, please. Thank you. So as a researcher, and investigating the Southeast Asian area, sharing all our actions with all the regions is probably my role. Therefore, going forward, if there's any opportunity for me to share good practices, I would like to do that. So if you do have a good practice, please let me know so that I can share with others. Thank you very much, Kojima-san, and thank you very much, presenters and discussants. You have been mentioning many wordings, key words in order to make circular economy move. So, as the discussants mentioned, I think the key word is being together. And as Kitazume-san mentioned, we should be opening up the market once again. And once again, I think we got to be aware of the importance of what you also said. And thank you very much for the presenters and the discussant. And thank you very much for the listeners for listening to us. And with that, we would like to close this session. Thank you.
Mr. Adachi and all the discussants, thank you very much for your contribution. We would like to conclude this session. We would like to have an 8-minute break at this blue stage. We will resume at 3:15. Environmental advanced technology and service contributing to the developing countries. That session is taking place in the room next door at the green stage. Those who are leaving this venue, please make sure you return the interpretation device to the reception counter. We will resume at 3:15. Thank you.